Hello, my name's Steve, and you are listening, watching, and tuning into the Go Football podcast. So, this is the podcast that talks all about grassroots football. Whether you are a coach, player, parent, referee, just got a love for the game, sit tight, you're in the right place. So, on the episode this week, we're going to be looking at something that is creeping in to grassroots football. It seemed like it was all a professional game, but it's creeping into grassroots football, and we're going to be looking at technology and hybrid coaching. So, what does that mean? What does it do? Well, how can we use it? And why is it coming into grassroots football? So, cue the whistle. Let's get started. Again, big shout out as well to Rush Sportswear for the tops. Now, listen, we've only got a few weeks until the season actually starts, so you've got to be quick if you've not got kits as well. But head over to Rush Sportswear. I'm sure they'll be able to help you out, from full kits to just training tops or whatever it is that you need. Some great products on offer there as well, all custom made, and you can make them however you want. So that's why they're custom made. So if you want the yellow tops like I've got as well to look a little like Brazil, although someone did say I looked like I was in a Watford top the other day, head on over there and they will be able to help you. The links are in the bio for Rush Sportswear. So hello and welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 31. So if you've not been here before, we talk all about grassroots football, and today's something a little bit different that maybe we haven't covered before or been able to cover before for a few different reasons. But this is something that's definitely creeping into grassroots football. I'm going to call it hybrid coaching. So what's hybrid coaching? What does that actually look like for most people? Well, let me give you a bit of an idea of what I think it looks like. I think that hybrid coaching is very much when you have your normal training sessions, normal games, but there's something extra that you can give. And it's not extra that we're giving on the pitch at the time. It is more of an online element that we're going to be giving. So that could be a number of different things. That could be the resources that we now have. Like I know I mentioned last time regarding things like the VOs, like the Falcons that are coming out as well, the Chameleons that are recording all these different things. Yeah, but it's giving like video breakdown of the last matches as well, where coaches are able to cut up videos, sort of turn them and change them so they all give a better idea for a player, and we can give it exactly, what we want a player to be able to do through the game, and some of the key things that we're thinking as coaches that they may not have seen on the pitch at the time. And even if you are talking to them and telling them, maybe not always translating as well. So it could be like clips of their own play. It could be, elements and of the game that we wanted to do, maybe shape, maybe position, maybe something that is an error that we keep occurring all the time, which we think we can probably correct by having one of those things too. So yeah, I think that, having that video analysis as well, having some remote feedback, and, just taking a few things that maybe come from the professional game and academy, but maybe just scaling it down for grassroots a little bit. But I'm definitely seeing more and more technology come into grassroots football. For example, like the teams that I coach and take to games on Saturdays, we record the games, we cut them up, we put them into, sometimes we put them into little videos for them and just say, look, this is what we did wrong when we were playing out from the back. We needed these fullbacks to be a little bit higher. We needed the wingers to push further forwards. We needed we needed the two pivot players to come in at a different angle. So yeah, they're the kind of things. Now, what I'm going to do today is let's just cover some of the benefits, some of the drawbacks, and whether or not it's worth actually investing in some equipment to be able to do this. So like you say, look, first one with hybrid coaching. What is it really? Like we've said, it's the pitch-based kind of coaching that you'd get. Like you say, your normal weekday sessions, really. Your team drills, your match that you play, all of those different bits. But like I say, with the online element, it's slightly different. And I think that a lot of teams now are looking at what can we do to improve? What can we do to add value? What can we do to develop players? And, any of the grassroots teams that are developing players and looking to develop players, that's absolutely amazing. I think that that's only a good thing to do. And some of these options, they're kind of expensive, and some of them are a little bit cheaper too. And there's lots of different ones around, really. If you think about what people used to have and what coaches would always have, is they would always have their tactics board, and coaches don't take your tactic boards away. You still need to have those. But that was kind of, if we look at it, the high-tech technology of maybe the 80s, 90s was basically pen and paper, crosses on a bit of paper with a pitch that you've drawn out quickly, and you go here, you go there, or the magnetic boards where you move the markers around to where you've got to be. But now I think that, things like, VO and Hudl and all those different things are just given an extra level of maybe coaching that you get, where most of the coaching that you can do now is also on the sideline. You can let everyone go and play, but remember, it is a decision-based game. We need to make sure these players go out and make their own decisions. If we're doing something, and I heard this term from another content creator regarding how they coach players or what they dislike about players. I call it joystick coaching as well, where you're showing every single instruction on to the pitch for those players to be able to do. Don't do that as well. Just let them go and play. But you can do most of the coaching with either anyone that is going to be one of those game changers that's going to be going on the pitch, or afterwards if we have recorded. So, I think even some individual one-to-one coaches are starting to offer this now. They're starting to offer a bit of a hybrid service where they've got like the in-person sessions, and then maybe they're recording those sessions and saying this is what you need to also work on. So I do think this is something that is coming more and more in there. And, anyone that is managed a team on a weekend, you've probably come across even maybe some under 8s, under 9s where the club have just got a VO, and the coaches have just asked for it to have the games. I mean, it does give that added benefit for some of the parents that you can put on things like the WhatsApp group, the link on there as well, and the parents that couldn't make it can go there, and that's a really good way of keeping them keeping the communication between them as well as to what's happened and what's going on. And a lot of parents, if they are working, will still want to watch the games too. So if they're watching it just because they want to watch the game, that's great. But with these, you can do a lot of different things. Now, what I would say is that, why is it actually catching on? Why are we doing more of these things? And I've got a few players that are using tech, and some of them that are not using tech that are on a one-to-one. So I know that some of them will wear things like their fitness watches in training if they can do. They'll just put band over it as well, which I kind of get, which are the massive bands, so that it's not on show or anything like that. But at the same time, I think that people are starting to wear the trackers that run the boots, which are telling them how many touches they've had of the ball, how hard they kicked it, how many things that they've done from there, the distances and everything else like that too, and they're keeping those trackers on their feet. But I think it's just becoming more and more either accepted, but I also think it's a lot more people are looking to do this now as kind of the next step and having that online element. Now, I think that one thing that has definitely accelerated this is probably the likes of TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, where there seems to be clips after clip after clip of people hitting top bins or going past people, and some great clips from grassroots football. Bear in mind that, if you put all the clips together, you've got a good match of the day, I think, there. So, there's no problem with doing that. But I really think that is also accelerating people to maybe go out and look at different options of doing this. And does it give any benefits to coaches? Well, yeah, I think it probably does give a lot of benefits to coaches, really. I think that being able to watch games back and, like I say, be able to give some tactical information out of this is what happened, this is why we want to do it, this is what we want to do next, is a great idea to be able to do. And you can't always replicate that on the training pitch, and that makes it very, very hard. But I also think that it'll give a good individual focus. That video analysis, it's really going to let coaches pause, zoom in, find things. I mean, even when there was one time when I refereed and there was a video camera up there, and there was it was a proper 50-50 challenge for a ball, but it was in the penalty area between the goalkeeper and the striker, and I didn't give a penalty for it. In fact, it's on my Facebook and also TikTok channel. So I might post a little link to that one to let me know what you think, if it was a foul or not. But I was able to zoom in and just go in really, really close just to see if I thought I'd made the right decision, and I thought it was great. So what else do we get as well? Parent value as well. I think that the parents, they can see exactly what's been worked on. They are able to have that information, so that what they don't have to do is they don't not shouting on. This is one of the coaches, you always hear coaches say this as well. I'm telling the players to do one thing, the parents tell them to shout and do something different. Well, look, if this is the case and we've got this and we send that out to the parents and they can see, look, this is where we needed to be, this is where we needed to do this is what I want you to do, then parents can also get on board with there as well, and see exactly what is being worked on, and it really, really helps you be able to kind of set the tone really as a coach. And I think it's really good. And I think that one of the other benefits now is that tech is getting a lot cheaper as well. I remember those VO cameras came out and it was just like, they were pretty much set for academies and people that were paying or prepared to pay a lot, or the other alternative, there was a sponsor that used to get all of the videos. But I do think it's coming in a lot cheaper than what it is, and I also think the trackers are getting a lot cheaper. So I think that it's getting, more affordable means that more Saturday, Sunday league teams as well, more grassroots teams are able to kind of do that and kind of have them. So what's the benefits of the player from having a hybrid coaching regime? So, where they can go out and they can have their normal training sessions with all the players, but they're able to look at a number of different things, from some tech that comes in, where they've not got to focus on the time. If they're in a game, they don't want to be focused on like, oh, the camera's watching me or anything like that. I mean, for me, I actually think that in the professional game, it's kind of wrecked it a little bit. So you see so many times with professional players now, they're scared to take shots because they know it's going to go against their stats. So sometimes stats can be pretty bad in that way. Rather than taking shots and risking it, what they don't want to do is have their shots on goal or, goal ratio, shots to goal ratio kind of going downhill because they're willing to take shots, they're holding off. And I think that's, you see a lot of players where you just think that you should be shooting there, or you should be taking opportunity, or you should be doing this, and they just play it safe because, if they play it safe and play another pass, it's another pass complete, which is good. But I do think that for players, I think that if they've got the opportunity to have a hybrid system in place where they can look at the games and they can look at things, it's really, really good for them to be able to see that. And it also gives some good talking points. And like I mentioned last time on last week's episode, if you're able to have young players and they are able to answer the questions themselves, they will learn much quicker about what it is they've done or need to do as well. So I think that some of them will be able to take ownership of them, especially probably older age groups. But you can say to a lot of players, look, you were here. This is where you needed to be. This is where you would win the ball. This is where it all pops. This is where it pops out to. When we're taking throws, look at the shape that we've actually got. We weren't thinking about where we were. So it gives that added a bit of them also being able to analyze themselves and get some feedback. And we can also plan what we're going to do for next training sessions as coaches. But I think that'll really help a lot of different players if they are able to watch these back and they've got some of this tech that's involved. And I think it's great for being able to build confidence for some players. The amount of times where I've seen players that have said, oh, I wasn't sure whether or not I was in this position or that position. And you look back and you say, this is where, no, you're in the right place as well. Okay, great. They know they're in the right place. And it can reinforce like some really good habits that maybe some of your players have. And I think that when you watch the game, if you watch the game live, but you've got it recorded, the second time you watch it, you can always watch it slightly differently. You can be there for in the moment, which is, what football's all about, really. We're not always about reruns. I think if you can go and watch it and you can watch it sort of like live, that's great. And have no kind of thought about, watching it for stats or watching it for this or watching it for anything else. But the next time you watch it and you watch it back, then you start thinking about shape, position. Was I in the right place? Was I not in the right place? And looking at all those things afterwards. And that's where you can maybe, and the players should be able to watch it back and have a look at it. And I think that sometimes coaches are a bit precious on keeping all of that. Just let the parents have it and let them watch it as well. Let the players go and watch it too. So, I think there's some of the positive things that we can get from some tech. Now, obviously, there's got to be some negatives as well. Cost is obviously one of those things. I mean, for cost, let's just look at it like there's some good options out there. There are some that are generally come with subscriptions. They generally come with having to buy equipment first and all those different things. They're definitely one of the negatives for it, I would say. I mean, it depends who's going to pay for it. If parents are happy to pay for it, or you've got sponsors happy to pay for it, or there's a good deal that you can get on, then I would say definitely go for one of those options. But, is it really, do we need it all the time? Probably not. But if we can afford it, that's great. And that is definitely one of the cutbacks to it. Now, what are some of the other cutbacks? Maybe we could overcoach, and overcoaching is big, really. I mean, what we should always be doing when we've got these cameras is looking at when the decisions we make, how do we react afterwards? Not always, let's just skip to the goal. Let's just skip to the goal kick. Let's just skip to the corner. Let's just skip to when someone played the ball through. Let's look at everything that's actually on there. And I think sometimes you can overcoach a little bit too. So, if we were to look at for some of the other negatives that are also on there as well, look, time for coaches, time for editing videos and creating feedback, it can take a long time for a lot of coaches. I think if there was a team of coaches and it's not just one, that makes it much easier. If parents and players have also got access to the videos, again, that makes it much easier too, because as a coach, maybe you want to say to some of your players, especially if they're older and they're able to use the tech and they're able to log on and see all these things, maybe they're able to give their own feedback, maybe in a session too. Maybe they could come and say, oh, do you know what, when I took that shot, really I did have time to take extra touches as well, I should have gone further forwards. maybe I should have lifted my head up at these times as well. Maybe I was out of position when this happens, or every time we transition, maybe I can see that I'm just walking back rather than coming back to help out the whole team. But at the same time, the negative side of it is over analysing too. Like, do we want to analyse them? Like I just mentioned with some professional players, look, they'd rather sometimes take an easy pass, or it looks like they want to take an easy pass because that goes up on their pass ratio of 100%, which is great. But could they have just risked it? And could they have gone through? Could they have taken a shot on goal? Could they have tried to play a through ball through that may have come off with a goal on there too? Maybe they could have done that. So, sometimes overanalyzing is probably a bit of a bad thing. And I think there has to be a nice balance. And we also have to know your players and know which ones need it, which ones don't, which ones will cope well with it, which ones won't. Because, like I say, wearing the trackers on your boots and wearing everything else, not for everyone, but it is coming in much better too. Now, if you just think about like the last little bit is that you can get some technical hiccups with it as well. So the camera might fail. That's a negative. Bad angles. For some reason, I had a camera set up once, and obviously it's got the two lenses on there as well. One of them was just misty as anything, and seemed to have, I don't know what, it just seemed really misty on one side, and then the other half of the pitch was absolutely crystal clear. Unlucky in that game that most of the game was played in the misty side of it as well. That's where the goals were scored. That's where we wanted to see everything else. But sometimes tech can fail. Sometimes you get poor audio. But here's one. This is the biggest tip that I could ever give someone if they are using it, and that is maybe think about turning the audio off if you are a loud coach. I'm not saying that I'm a loud coach, just saying probably worth it if you are one of those, or people have been saying different things, because those cameras pick up loads of stuff. Honestly, you can hear people from the other side of the pitch too. So yeah, just bear that in mind. You might want to turn the sound off. So look, tech. Is it actually worth it? So, I mean, look, personally, I think that tech's great, and I think that it can really, really help a lot of people when it works brilliantly, and also when it's in moderation. Like we said, one thing we don't want to do with hybrid coaching and coaching people, on the training pitch. That's when we enjoy it, right? We enjoy that more than we would do just watching. Although, with the amount of games that Sky Sports and everyone's put out as well, who knows? Might be people might like watching it more, but I do think that it can really enhance development for a lot of players, especially for like ambitious players. So if you've got players that are really ambitious, and I coach a few players that are really ambitious, they are really pushing on at professional academies doors and going for sessions with them, and getting blocks of training sessions with them too. And they're wearing all the tech and everything else like that, and they've got all of those things. And if you ever go to a professional club, you'll know that they've got someone who sits on tech, and it's just all about stats, numbers, figures, things like that. And I think if you watch a professional game too, you probably notice that half time comes up. What happens? Yeah, you get to half time, and here's the stats, here's many shots on target, here's the possession, here's this, here's that. And I think that sometimes people want to have some more of that too. Now, I'm not saying that tech is a magic bullet to be able to help that. We need to do all the fundamentals, and I would say only get tech if it's really affordable for a club or for a person to go and do that, because it isn't, like I say, it's not a silver bullet. You're not going to instantly, I've got tech, all of a sudden I'm going to be a better player. It doesn't quite work like that. But what it can do is it can give you some good indications as to what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, how active you are in the game, maybe all of the different things that you don't want to be concentrating too much on during the game. So, look, if you are a club and you are considering it, or if you're a coach as well, a lot of coaches are going out and buying some of these things now because they are quite affordable. I looked at some of the chameleons and things like that, and some of the other devices that you can also get. And I'm using that one more, so not because I've got it or anything like that. Just because there's no subscriptions to it, so it makes it generally a little bit cheaper when you've got it. You're not having to think about it all afterwards. But I would always say, as for most people, if you just start off small, try recording maybe a couple of matches to make sure that it's the right thing for you. Training sessions, again, only have to do a few training sessions. Maybe you can just do some where you've got maybe some activation practices or something like that. Maybe you can give those, or maybe you do some of those practices and you can put them on and train the sessions, and then you can also go back and say, this is what we need to do. But just make sure that, if you are going to be doing online content too for it, I would say just keep it simple, keep it engaging and accessible for a lot of players and parents too. They're definitely going to need to look at what it is that they're doing. They're going to need to understand all of that. I think that there's a lot of different things that they'll be able to get from it, and tech's great for all of that. Now, look, there's lots of different options to go and get. Is it, though, what are players going to really get out of it, I suppose? Are players going to become better players from it? Depends how it's used. I do think it depends how it's used. I think if you use it in a way where you're able to break it down simply, make it age relevant to them, or you can show clear things that they are capable of doing, that's great, and I think that will definitely help them. What we're trying to do with tech, though, are we trying to bridge the gap really between grassroots football and academies and professional setups? I think that there's no reason why we can't do a lot of that. I did one podcast a few episodes ago regarding JPL and grassroots. What's the difference between the two? One's seen as maybe a little better in some areas, whereas some other areas see it as not. But we are definitely looking at, with using a lot of these, is can we kind of bridge the gap, or can we add value to our grassroots teams and keep them coming back, year after year, helping their development? Because as coaches, that's what we want to be able to do. We don't want to be able to just go in. It's not all about winning games, is it? It's about developing players. I think that for a coach, most coaches, I would say anyway, they find it a win if they had some players that maybe didn't win in every game, but got scouted out and looked at by some professional clubs and decided, and actually went into football as a career. I think that they would like to go back and go, yeah, I coached them. Yeah, I coached them before they got there as well. And I think that's a bigger win for a coach than winning games, really. I definitely think that. I'm not sure what everyone else thinks. Maybe everyone else thinks different. I'm not sure. But I mean, like, what do you think about tech? I think that there's a good and a bad for it. Cost wise, yeah, there's an outlay to go and put out there as well. What are the benefits for it? Well, you're only going to get the benefits if you're going to put the work in. So if you're going to analyze the videos, if you're going to put it online for everyone to be able to see, if you're going to make cuts of the video, if you want it for just under eights, just for goal scoring as well, get the parents to get their phones out and just record it. It's going to be much better. It'll be at eye level. It'll be great for that. And again, you get a lot of that too, don't you? But if someone's watching the game and they're playing it through their phone, probably not paying full attention to what's going on. And for me, it's all about being live in the game at the time and enjoying the game as the as the players are enjoying it. Really, we can always look back afterwards. But yeah, I think that's what I would prefer. I prefer keeping the game on the pitch, but having that added benefit of some technology, of either videos or trackers and those kind of things. I much prefer those as a bit of an add-on, really. I wouldn't say that they're the most essential thing to have. And certainly, look, if you've got a team or a club that hasn't got any of those, doesn't mean that they're a bad club, doesn't mean anything like that too. But what can you do to maybe get some of this technology? Look out, maybe we can go and get some sponsors for them. Maybe you can publish some of the videos that you do with the sponsor's name underneath it as well, or sponsored by. Maybe that'll be a good option for someone to maybe come in and buy some of that equipment for you, or part towards it, or something like that. Maybe a bit of fundraising. And obviously, if you've got a few teams that play and you've got, one pitch, for example, and 3 teams that play on it, spread the cost between the 3 of you, record all 3 games and share them out too, because coaches, honestly, you can learn from other coaches and you can learn from other games, and you might watch another game and go, oh, they were doing that really, really well. That's what I'm going to work on next. And again, technology is great for all of that. But when you've got one of these and you can rewind, fast forward, pause, go to set points in there too, they're really great. And some of the subscriptions that you get are amazing too. Some of them will do full analysis for you before it comes to you, but the more, I'd say the more basic or more entry level, if you like, as well, will just record the game for you and give you some of the key stats in there too, of when the goals were scored, or when there was half time, or when something happened, or shots on target and things like that. So that's really, really good. But yeah, let us know if you are using tech and how you're using it, and if you've found any benefits from using it too. And you can do that. Just get in touch with us as well. It's gofootballpod@gmail.com. But you can also message me, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X as well. Just go on and find us all on there. All the links are in the bio there too. So final thoughts just on tech and whether it's worth it or not. I think that if you're using it for under 8s, under 9s, great to have the games. Maybe you just want to have it though, just to be able to watch the games, keep parents engaged, keep players engaged too. Maybe that would be the reason for it. No need to do too much analysis at those kind of age groups, although I've seen a lot of 8 and 9 and 10-year-olds wearing trackers, on their boots, or wearing the vests too with the trackers in the back of them. So, but I think that if you're going to be using and you want to have tech because they're maybe older age groups, aspiring players that are looking to move on, and they're looking to really push their game forwards, I think you just need to consider just the amount of time that you'd spend on doing things like editing the videos and making useful content for them as well. And I'm not talking about social media content or anything like that. I'm talking about position, shapes, things that are happening in the game, things that are set maybe just for that one player that you can send on to them, or maybe set them as a team so that everyone can see them too. But I also think it's great to be able to put tech out, to maybe do a bit of a voiceover on them, send it out to all of the players via the parents, so the parents know exactly what you're trying to tell them, so that when it gets to game day and they're shouting one thing and you're shouting the other thing as well, maybe that'll stop a little bit if they know why you're doing certain things, like why someone's so far forward, why someone's so deep, why someone's nice and compact, why we're going out wide, whatever it is, we can see all of those things too. So I definitely think there's like pluses and minuses for it. Just make sure you start off nice and small. I think, again, if anyone wants to come in that is using these bits of technology, that'd be great. Just put some comments on one of the socials. Let's get a bit of a thread going on there too, where some people that are maybe considering using all of the tech will be able to get some really good advice from people that are actually using it and how well they're using it and the benefits that they're seeing from it, and also the different options that there are, because there's so many options out now. Maybe we can get someone that's maybe used all of them and can give us their opinion on all of them too. So, but if you want to get in touch, then just do that by getting in touch with me using gofootballpod@gmail.com. Come straight through to me. You can also get me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all of those. And don't forget, you can always get us on Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you want to listen to, really. We're pretty much everywhere now. So look, that's the end of the show. Next week we're back with a brand new show for you. So until then, enjoy your games at the weekend and also your training sessions, and see you then.